Good morning, children. Today we are going to discuss about the tissue system. Introduction. Plant tissues are the tissues formed of mature and non-dividing cells which are derived from the meristematic tissues by growth and differentiation. The cells have differentiate shapes, size and function. Based on nature, plant tissues are classified into simple and complex tissues. Simple tissues include parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Complex tissues include xylem and phloem. Tissue, a group of cells that are specialized to perform a particular function, forms a tissue. Tissue are mainly classified into two types: plant tissues and animal tissues. Plant tissues, tissue organized is target toward stationary habit of plants. Animal tissue, tissue organization is targeted towards mobility of animal. Plant tissue organization is simple. Animal tissue organization is complex. Plant tissue, many of tissues are dead. For example, cork. Animal tissue, most of the tissues are living. Plant tissue growth is confined to certain areas. Animal tissues growth is not limited to areas. Plant tissue, less maintenance energy required. Animal tissues, more maintenance energy required. Plant tissue, plant grow continuously throughout life. Animal tissue, after reaching maturity stage, animal do not show further growth. Plant tissues, plant do not move, that is, they are stationary. Most of the tissue they have are supportive, which provide them with structural strength. Most of these tissues are dead, as they can provide better mechanical strength than the live ones and need less maintenance. Some of the plant tissues keep on dividing throughout the plant life. These tissues are localized in certain region. Types of plant tissues. Based on the dividing capacity of the tissues, various plant tissue can be classified as growing or meristematic tissues and permanent tissues, which have further subdivided or as explained below. Plant tissue are classified into meristematic tissues and permanent tissues. Meristematic tissues are classified into apical, lateral, intercalary. Permanent tissues are classified into simple and complex. Simple tissues are classified into parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma and protective. Complex, phloem and xylem. Meristematic tissues. Meristematic tissues are three types. Apical meristem, it is present at the growing tip of the stem and root and increasing the length. Lateral meristem, it is present beneath the bark. It is responsible for growth and girth of trunk. Intercalary meristem, it is present at the internodes or base of the leaves and increasing the length between the nodes. Location of the meristem tissues in plant body: the apical region is there, intercalary region is there and lateral region is there. Permanent tissues, cells of meristematic tissues changing their shape and size to get specialized is performing other function in plant body. This process is called differentiation. Once the cell of meristematic tissue divide to a certain extent, they become specialized for a particular function. Permanent tissues are of two types, simple and complex tissues. Simple tissues. This type of tissue is composed of same type of cell. These are again of four types. Parenchyma. Cells of parenchyma tissues are live. They are oval, elongated and loosely packed with a large intercellular space, forming basic packing of tissue and are found throughout the plant body. Function of parenchyma. They provide mechanical support of the plant body. They stored food and nutrients in vacuole. Collenchyma. Parenchyma with chlorophyll which perform photosynthesis is called chlorenchyma. Aerenchyma. In aquatic plants, cells of parenchyma having a large air cavity to give buoyancy to the plant and is called aerenchyma. Collenchyma, simple tissue. Cells of collenchyma are live. They are oval and elongated and tightly packed with no intracellular space. They are found below the epidermis in the leaves and stem. Function of collenchyma tissues. They provide mechanical support of plants. They also provide flexibility to plants so that they can be without breaking. Sclerenchyma, simple tissues. Cells of sclerenchyma are dead. They are narrow and elongated. The cell wall is sclerenchyma is composed of lignin which make it hard. Sclerenchyma are found around vascular bundles, veins of leaves, in hard covering of seed and nuts. For example, sclerenchyma tissues are found in coconut husk. Function of sclerenchyma. They help to make part of plant hard and stiff. Also provide mechanical strength. Complex tissues. A group of different type of cells performing common tasks together are named as complex tissues. Complex tissues are of two types, xylem and phloem. Parenchyma tissue. Parenchyma is a type of simple permanent tissue that makes a major part of ground tissue in plants, where other tissue like vascular tissues are embedded. They are non-vascular and composed of simple, living and undifferentiated cells which are modified perform various functions. The other simple permanent tissues are collenchyma, sclerenchyma. See the picture. The three basic type of plant tissues: collenchyma tissues, parenchyma tissues and sclerenchyma tissues. The main characteristics of parenchyma are they are living permanent tissue that have the ability to divide a maturity and help in regeneration and healing of wound. Parenchyma cells are the foundation of plant as a reproductive cell. Spores, gametes are parenchymatous in nature. Single parenchyma cell of a zygote has an ability to develop into an entire plant. These cells are called totipotent cell. Parenchyma cell occur in the form of continuous masses as homogeneous parenchyma tissue. Example, in pith and cortex of stem and roots, mesophyll of leaves, fleshy of succulent fruit, and in the endosperm of seed. Parenchyma cells may be associated with other type of cells to form heterogeneous complex tissue such as parenchyma of xylem and phloem. Parenchyma cells are essential for activity like photosynthesis, storage, secretion, assimilation, respiration, excretion and radial transport of water and solute. Structure of parenchyma cell. It is a living cell. It has a prominent nucleus and protoplast. The cells of parenchyma are isodiametric or polyhedral in shape. They may be polygonal, oval, round, or elongated. These cells are tightly packed or may have small intracellular space. They are made up of thin cell wall made up of cellulose and hemicellulose. Plasmodesmata join the cells of the parenchyma tissues. They have several small vacuoles in the older parenchyma. Smaller vacuole merge to become a large central vacuole, which may accumulate anthocyanin or tannin. Water is abundant in the vacuoles of the parenchyma cells that act as a water reservoir. Storage of parenchyma cells may have thick cycloglucan walls. Example in the endosperm of date palm. The sugar is used during germination and walls become thin. The parenchyma cells of flowers and fruits containing chromoplast. Parenchyma cells may have a thick lignified wall that makes it difficult to differentiate in the form sclerenchyma. Hydrolytic property of cells gives the parenchyma its mechanical strength. Chloroplast is present in the parenchyma cells that are specific to perform photosynthesis. The parenchyma cells which perform secretory function have dense protoplasm that is rich in ribosome, Golgi bodies, and highly developed endoplasmic reticulum. Types of parenchyma cells. Parenchyma cells can be categorized based on their structure, location, and function performed. The main parenchyma tissues are the parenchyma, chlorenchyma, arenchyma, prosenchyma, epidermal parenchyma, xylem parenchyma, mesophyll parenchyma. Chlorenchyma. Cells which have chloroplast and perform photosynthesis. The mesophyll cells in leaves which differentiated into palisade and sponge cells. In the other green plants of the plant like stem and sepals, etc., transfer cells, they play an important role in the transport of solute over short distance. They have cell wall ingrowths which greatly increasing the surface area of the plasma membrane. Sucrose is the transport across the membrane through a portion sucrose co-transport mechanism. These are found in the areas of absorption and secretion in plant like nectaries, salt glands, and in carnivorous plants. Vascular parenchyma. The parenchyma cells which are associated with the vascular tissues. These are of two types. Phloem parenchyma. It is made up of elongated, tapering, and cylindrical cell having dense cytoplasm. Plasmodesmatal connections occur between the cell through pit in the wall. It stored food and other materials like resin, latex, and mucilage, absent in monocotyledons. Xylem parenchyma. It is made up of thin walled cell. Cell wall is made up of cellulose. It stored food material like starch, fat, and other substances such as tannin and crystal. Radial conduction of water take place by ray parenchymatous cells. In the water stress condition, they help in preventing damage of tracheids and vessels. Storage parenchyma. The storage of various substances like water, starch, protein, etc. They act as a food and water reservoir. Stored protein is a good source of nitrogen for plant. In starch storage cells like in potato tubers, endosperm cereals, and cotyledons. Abundant starch containing amyloplasts are presented. Parenchyma cells may be specialized as a water storage tissue in succulent plants such as cactaceae, aloe, agave, etc. In the underground storage, like in potato tubers, it can initiate the shoot growth and provide moisture for the initial growth of growing pot. Prosenchyma. These are fiber-like elongated cells which are thick-walled and provide turgidity and strength to the plant. Erenchyma. They contain very large intracellular space. These are present in aquatic plant. Erenchyma help in the buoyancy of the floating plants. It helps in the respiration and provide the sufficient oxygen to the aquatic plant. The Erenchyma formation take place naturally in the root of rice, that's called Rhiza sativa. The Erenchyma of leaves and stem of aquatic plants are large longitudinal cells with air space or lands which are gas filled. Erenchyma cells are often water filled. Erenchyma cells are continuous form shoot to root and help in diffusion of air from leaves to roots. It helps in maintaining the sufficient oxygen level for respiration. The excess oxygen consumed diffuses out from the root into the soil atmosphere. They help in sustaining locally aerobic rhizosphere in the anaerobic soil. Epidermis parenchyma. It is found in the epidermis of the leaves of some gymnosperm. They have cutinized cell wall, no intracellular space, cutin layer on the outer surface of epidermis reduce transpiration and counters the environmental stress. Have many spin projection for the production conjunctive parenchyma. This type of parenchyma is present in the root system, no cutinized with thin cell wall present on outer layer of the young part of the root. It is known as epiblema or piliforous layer. It may be tubular outgrowth now as root has. The main function is to absorb water and minerals from the soil. Function of parenchyma. Parenchyma cells form the ground tissue of plants. Parenchyma tissues perform various important functions. Storage. Parenchyma cells have large intracellular space which are ideal for storage. High amount of starch is presented in the tubers of potato and cassava. These can store water, fat, oil droplet and ergastric substances. Store water and act as a water reservoir. Transport, parenchyma cell transport nutrient and other chemicals. Transfer cells have outgrowth for increasing absorption surface. The silent parenchyma helps in radial transportation of water and minerals. Some cells transport light from surface to underground cells. Photosynthesis. Chlorenchyma present in the mesophyll and the other green part of the plant have chloroplast and perform photosynthesis. Gaseous exchange. Erenchyma cell help in the gas exchange. Production. In gymnosperm, the parenchyma cells have spiny projection that help in the production from predators. Totipotency. Parenchyma cell have an ability to transform to the other type of cell and act as a precursor for other type of cells. Buoyancy. Erenchyma present the aquatic plants have air sac that helps in floating. Cuticle present of the epidermis help in reducing transpiration in water stress condition. Thick-walled parenchyma cells provide mechanical strength to the plant. Healing and regeneration. Parenchyma cells which retain their ability to divide even a maturity help in regeneration and wound healing. Tylosis present in the xylem parenchyma helps in preventing damage to vascular tissue. It is condition of drought. Coloncyma tissues. Coloncyma cells have a support function in plants, particularly in young plant. These cells help to support plant while not restraining growth due to their lack of secondary wall and the absence of hardening agent in the primary wall. See the picture? Importance points of coloncyma tissues. Coloncyma tissues are mainly found under the epidermis is young stem in the large veins of leaves. The cells are composed of living elongated cells running parallel to the length of organs that is found in coloncyma cells have thick cellulose cell wall which thickened at the corner. Coloncyma serve as supporting and strengthening tissues. Coloncyma which chloroplast photosynthesis take place. Function of coloncyma. The thickened walls of the coloncyma cells enable them to provide additional support to the areas where they are found. Most notably, coloncyma cells serve growing part of the plant, such as shoot and leaves, both by providing support and by filling in vacant space that will be used for lateral growth. See the sclerenchyma tissues. Sclerenchyma cells also have a support function in plants, but unlike coloncyma cells, they have a hardening agent and are much more rigid. See the picture? Importance of sclerenchyma tissues. Most abundant cell in plants, spherical cell which flatten at point of contact, alive at maturity, pliable primary cell wall, large vacuole for storage of starch, fat and tannin. Denature protein, that's called denature protein. Sclerenchyma fibers. See, the pit is there and lumen also is there. Types of sclerenchyma: branchysclerites, astroscleride and osteosclerites. Function: sclerenchyma cells are strong, thick cells that provide most of the support in the plant. They are known to have extremely thick cell wall and do not participate in many of the other activities of the developing plant, such as photosynthesis, because their focus is strictly on support and structure. Comparative chart of parenchyma, coloncyma and sclerenchyma. Parenchyma cells are thin-walled, only primary wall is present. Coloncyma, thick primary wall at the corner. Sclerenchyma, thick-walled. Parenchyma cells loosely arranged. Coloncyma cells compactly arranged. Sclerenchyma cells compactly arranged. Parenchyma cells are living and nucleus present. Coloncyma cells living, nucleus is in. Sclerenchyma cells are dead, devoid of cellular content. Parenchyma cells spherical, polygonal, oval, rectangular or rod shape. Coloncyma cells shapes are variable. Sclerenchyma cells are elongated. Parenchyma cells many intracellular space. Coloncyma cell intracellular space is absent. Sclerenchyma cells also intracellular space absent. Parenchyma cells vacuolated. Coloncyma cells vacuoles are absent. Sclerenchyma cells vacuoles absent. Xylem tissues. The most distinctive xylem cells are your long trachea elements that transport of water. Tracheids and vessel elements are distinguished by their shape. Vessel elements are shorter and are connected into the long tubes that are called vessels. See the picture? Important points of xylem tissues. Xylem carry water and dissolve nutrient from the root throughout the plant. Xylem is upward conduction of waters, while phloem is upward and downward conduction of food and minerals. Different types of cellular elements of xylem: xylem tracheids, xylem trachea, xylem fiber, and xylem parenchyma. Xylem tracheids, they are found abundant in pteridophytes, gymnosperm, and primitive angiosperm. In this group of plants, the tracheids represent the most active water conducting elements. In advanced angiosperm, the tracheids are found restricted to leaf margin and the leaf tip. The tracheids are elongated dead cell with tapering ends. They are characterized by the presence of thick cell wall consisting of primary wall and secondary wall. Primary wall is composed of cellulose, whereas the secondary wall is made up of lignin. Xylem trachea. They are commonly known as the xylem vessel. They are the most active water conducting elements. In all higher angiosperm, the trachea are found arranged parallel to each other, extending from one end to the plant body to another. The trachea are a long cylindrical dead cell. They are characterized by a thick cell wall consisting of primary wall and a secondary wall. The primary wall is made up of cellulose, whereas the secondary wall is made up of lignin. There is a spacious lumen that extends throughout the length of the trachea. Xylem fibers. They are represented by the dead sclerenchyma fiber that are found in between the vessel and the tracheids. They are meant for providing mechanical support of the essential elements. Types of xylem: primary xylem and secondary xylem. Primary xylem is a xylem that formed during normal growth. It is a derivative of primary meristem. It occurs in both monocots and dicot. In the primary xylem, two types of xylem vessels can be distinguished, namely protoxylem and metaxylem. Secondary xylem. Secondary xylem is the xylem that is formed during the secondary growth. It is derivative of secondary meristem. It is a characterized feature of only dicots. Secondary xylem is commonly known as wood. It is of commercial importance since it is extensively used in the manufacturing of door, wood, and furniture. Difference between protoxylem and metaxylem. Protoxylem, it is represented by the vessel that are formed earlier. Metaxylem, it is represented by vessel that are formed later. Protoxylem lumen is narrow. Metaxylem lumen is wider. Protoxylem vessel exhibit annular and spiral type of thickening. Metaxylem vessel exhibit scalariform, reticulate, and pitted type of thickening. Phloem tissues. Phloem tissue consists of conducting cells, generally called sieve elements, parenchyma cells, including both specialized component cells or albuminous cells and unspecialized cells, and supportive cells such as fiber and sclerites. See the picture, the phloem tissues. Sieve plate is there, sieve tube membrane also is there, companion cell, and phloem parenchyma is there. Different type of cellular elements of phloem: sieve tubes, companion cell, phloem parenchyma, and phloem fiber. Importance point of phloem tissues. Sieve tubes member of phloem conduct organic nutrient such as sugar throughout the plant. Phloem is a living tissue that carries organic nutrients now as photosynthetic, in particular sucrose, a sugar, to all part of the plant where needed. The sieve tubes. Sieve tubes represent the most active food conducting elements in the phloem tissue. The sieve tubes are found arranged parallel to one another from one end of the plant body to another. Each sieve tube is formed by the series of hollow cylindrical cells called sieve tube cell arranged one above other. The sieve cells are separated from each other by horizontal perforated plates called sieve plates. The companion cell. Companion cells are more or less spindle-shaped cells associated with the sieve tubes. Each companion cell is found attached to any one lateral surface of sieve tube. The companion cell and neighboring sieve cell together represent a pair of sister cells. The companion cell has granular cytoplasm, prominent nucleus, and one or two small vacuoles. The nucleus of the companion cell is said to be capable of exerting the influence on the adjacent sieve cells. Phloem parenchyma. Phloem parenchyma is represented by the group of living parenchyma cells that are found in between the sieve tubes. They were meant only for storage of organic food. Phloem fiber. Phloem fiber are represented by the dead sclerenchyma fiber that are found in between the sieve tubes. They are meant only for providing mechanical strength. Types of phloem tissues. Primary phloem. Primary phloem is the phloem that is formed during normal growth of plant body. It is formed in both monocots and dicots. The primary phloem is further composed of protophloem and metaphloem. The sieve tubes and the companion tubes, which appear earlier during normal growth, represent protophloem, while metaphloem is represented by the sieve tubes and companion cell that appear later. Secondary phloem. Secondary phloem is a phloem which is formed during the secondary growth. Secondary phloem is characterized feature of only dicot. It is also now as bast. It is also of commercial importance since it yields bast fiber. Diagram show the xylem vessel and phloem vessel. Xylem is always go to upward movements. The phloem both upward and downward movements. Characters of phloem. Comparison of phloem and xylem. Characters: phloem and xylem function. Transport of food and nutrient from leaves to storage organs and growing part of plants. Xylem: water and mineral transport from root to aerial part of the plant. Movement: bidirectional move, ups of down the plant stem from the source of sink. Unidirectional move up the plant stem. Occurrence: root, stem and leaves. Xylem also root, stem and leaves. Additional function: forms vascular bundles with xylem. Forms vascular bundle with the phloem and gives mechanical strength of the plant due to the presence of lignified cell. Structure: tubular with the soft walled cell, tubular with the hard walled cell. Elements: sieve tubes, companion cell, phloem parenchyma, bast fiber, intermediate cells, two tube flow. Tracheids, vessel elements, xylem parenchyma, xylem sclerenchyma. Nature of tissues: living tissues, non-living tissues at maturity. Protective tissues: they protect the plant body by forming an outer layer. There are two types of protective tissues: epidermis, simple tissues. Epidermis tissue cover the entire body of plant. They protect plant from injury, germs and water loss. Cells of epidermal tissues form a continuous layer without intracellular space. Stomata, a small opening on epidermal layer of the leaf and suppose soft part of stem to facilitate the gaseous exchange and transpiration in plants. Each stomata is composed of two guard cells which regulate the opening and closing of stomata. In desert plant, epidermis and cutin, a waterproof waxy substances secreted by epidermis, are thicker to reduce loss of water due to the transpiration. Cork simple tissues. This type of tissue consists dead cells with no intracellular space. They form the outer layer of the old tree trunk. Cork cells have a chemical called suberin in the wall that makes the impervious to gases and waters. Cork tissue protect plant for injuries germs and water loss. Cork, being light in weight, is used for making several products like bottle stopper and shuttlecock. Okay, thank you.